Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of my Apex Online Racing League here today for the F2 category on PC. Once again, we are here for round number 5 for the British Grand Prix. Round number 4, guys, will be linked up in the top right hand corner of the screen. The last race, if you want to go check it out, then do watch it, guys, before coming to this one to get up to date and also spoilers on how things look going into this race. Now, Great Britain is my home race, and obviously pretty much the home race for most of the races in the league, and the pressure's on for me. I want to try and perform here big time, and also because the last few races haven't gone according to plan. We didn't score any points in round 2 in Bahrain. I wasn't available, so I missed round 3, and then in round 4 we had a pretty decent race. We got P5 after starting outside the top 10, but I wanted more, and I fancy the podium in that race, but I definitely want to try and go one step further today and get back on the podium, because we haven't been on the podium since the first race when we actually won that race in Australia. Today we are here at Britain, as you can see the tyre compounds on screen: soft, medium and hard. The hardest one we're going to try and avoid at all costs this weekend if possible. We also have a wet qualifying scheduled, so we're going to see how that one goes. All the track statistics are on screen, but we're now going to move into qualifying on Saturday, and let's see how things go. And it's going to be a very tasty session with the wet weather, so let's jump into it and let's see how the session goes, and fingers crossed I can try and bag a pole position. It's time for the qualifying report. Right, so jumping into qualifying here on Saturday in AOR, and you can see it's a very wet session for the British Grand Prix qualifying. Extremely wet are the order of the day, and in qualifying we went for 2 runs on wet tyres, and both of those runs were about 3 laps each in terms of actual laps on the tyre. And my first run was actually pretty encouraging, to be honest. I was disappointing because I really had good pace and I just couldn't put it together. There was just, whether it was my mistake or a screen freeze or just a dropping frame or anything, traffic or just a mistake on mine. There's always something that just didn't allow me to get a lap together. You can see that I was purple for sector 1, 2 tenths up. And then again, now my second run here, you can see running wide though. After being 2 tenths up in the first sector, we run wide at Cops, and we're currently sitting on a 140.2, and at the time pole was around 139.6, and I knew I could have done that, and I knew I could have got at least that lap time, in the first run. But again, I just couldn't put it together. You can see here through sector 2, I'm absolutely flying again, and then as you can see towards sector 1 again on the next lap, I was up once again on my personal lap this time round. And then later on in the lap, as you can see here now, going through Cops this time, we keep it a bit tidier, but still a little bit scruffy there, losing the back end, and I was using a dry setup, and it wasn't doing any favours in the wet, to be honest. But I wanted to prioritise the race, and again we get loose there through Beckett's, and then into Chapel we just have a terrible line, and that's going to also ruin our line into the hangar straight, as we get a lot of oversteer there and wheel spin, and we're not even improving. So at this point, considering the fuel I had left, I just bowed on the lap. I came into the pit lane and I just sacked it off. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to bother with this anymore. I'm going to come in and get some fresh rubber on and try again on the final closing stages once the track improvement comes in. And to be fair, I done okay. Again, there was some good sector times put in, but I couldn't put it together. You can see here through turn 1, look at this, rally cross, and then through turn 2 as well. Just trying to hold on to the car at this point, realistically. There's nothing more I could do. And I still wanted to finish the lap anyway, just to get a reference point. You can see there's Zerd going fastest in the Williams there. And I knew even like a low 39 was possible. I just couldn't put it together. And then through the final corner here, we lose the back end massively. Huge save there. We do set a personal best in the process, getting to the 139s. And this was actually now my best lap of the session. So let's stay on board for this. And straight away, you can see through 1 and 2, nice and tidy so far. And then through 3 again, keeping it cautious. I could have pushed more, but knowing how unstable the car is, I really didn't want to push too much this time. I was trying to make sure I got in a bit more of a competitive lap time at the cost of my overall pace. And sector 1 was actually pretty good, considering the huge tank slapper through the final corner. We're actually doing okay, and we're actually up on our personal best here, and we're only a fraction down on first place through sector 1 as we now go into Luffield now. And it's all about just patience through this right-hander, really taking the time on the power. A little screen freeze there, which I had a few of those, and that one definitely cost me about a tenth of a second, because in online, screen freezes do cost you time, unlike in offline, so you do pay the price for those, as we pick up big screen freeze there. Lose about a tenth of a second, but still, we're looking good here through sector 2, through Cops this time, not running wide, keeping the car more or less under control, and now into Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel once again, this time much tidier. Still a little bit of oversteer, but you know, much tidier, not pushing too much because I don't want to make a mistake, and I want to try and sit in a decent, you know, respectable lap time. As you can see there that we are only 3/10 down as we go into the final sector. It should have been 2/10 if it had another screen freeze, but still 3/10 is not too bad, and we can maybe do it still in the final sector if we put it together. You can see yellow flag at the moment as I think someone retired, but still nothing in my way. As we missed the apex through into Stowe, and now into the final chicane here, keeping it, you know, relatively under control, taking it easy in second gear, then locking up the fronts into the final chicane, and now through the final corner, trying to get the power down here. So we run up to the line, and we do improve, and we jump up to 8th place. And to be fair, 4/10 or just over 4/10 off pole wasn't too bad, but it was there. I knew it was there. I could not get a lap together without making a mistake somewhere else, and it was really annoying because even when I did have a good lap under me, I'd probably have a screen freeze. So it's kind of frustrating, but still, nonetheless, here is your grid for the race tomorrow. So we have Martin G on pole position in the Alfa Romeo. Good job from him, and then also we've got Marion in P2 and Torosso. Fantastic result from both of those guys who were with me in F3 last season. Then we've got the championship leader, my teammate Koldo, in P3 in the first of the McLarens. Then we've got Zerd in P4, and then onto the third row we have Lemon and also Krysix in the Mercedes, back in the Mercedes for this race. And then just behind them on row 4 we've got Smeege in the Ferrari alongside myself in P8. Then rounding off the top 10 we have Julian in the Force India, and then finally Brownie in the Red Bull there. And then in terms of those outside the top 10 we've got Serdai, and then just behind him we've got Workman who's coming for this race as a reserve, and then we've got Error, and also just behind him we're going to have Rick, who is new into the league for this race, and a few more just behind who you cannot see. But yeah, that is your grid for the race tomorrow on Sunday, and the rain itself is not going to be present on Sunday, and the race is going to be a dry race, and everyone's going to get the free choice of tyres, so it's going to make things very interesting in terms of how people select their tyres at the start and at the end of the race. So with that being said, let's jump into it and let's see how the race goes. It is time for round number 5 of 10 in this season in AOR, and it is time for the British Grand Prix. Right, here we go then. We are on the formation lap to begin the race here on Sunday for the British Grand Prix. As you can see on screen right now, the strategy is as follows. Starting on the medium tyres, that's what I've elected here today for the race. A few others have gone for the same thing. Others have started on the soft tyres and are going to try and run the mediums later on. So we're going to see a bit of a contrast in race fortunes here, which is going to make things very, very interesting indeed. But as you can see, we're going to try and take a gamble on the mediums and kind of hope that we can come back at the race later on the softs. Now, this is a funny track for me. Last season, we actually won the race. We got demoted to P2 afterwards due to a penalty. So I know I've gone well here in the past. However, based off of my practice before the race even started, even before qualifying, I was struggling for pace. So I didn't know what to expect here this race, as I've had, you know, contrasting fortunes in the past. So let's see what version and which part of me arrives here in this race. With that being said, the formation lap draws to a close, and we now get ready for the 5 red lights here for the British Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go for Silverstone here, and it's a pretty good start off the line on the mediums, to be fair, as I've got Brownie going down the inside here. I have to leave the room to the Red Bull, and also Julian going around the outside. Both of those guys on soft compound tyres as we try to go back down the inside of Julian here, but Brownie sends one from really far back in the Red Bull there, and we get tagged as well at the right rear. I think that was by Rick in the other Red Bull, and suddenly we've been swallowed up by the pack here, and we've dropped all the way down to pretty much last place here, and a terrible start from us. Brownie running wide there. We've got Error behind us as well, and now we've got THM in front of us in the Ferrari. But what a terrible start, and there was nothing particularly wrong. We just got swallowed up by the pack there because of a little bit of contact, and also Brownie forcing me to take a bit of a, evasive action in that start. And once again, Rick here, as you can see, the other Red Bull trying to get down the inside there. But I'm just going to close the door on him and go in front of the Red Bull for now. So pick up a tow from the cars in front here. Railgun currently just behind THM there in the Renault as we go through Cops flat out for the first time here. A little bit of a lift, obviously not flat out just yet, as we now go into Maggott and Beckett, and again trying to make sure we carry a good speed, flat out through the first one, then we take a couple of lifts, and we're just trying to see where the track conditions are at the minute, trying to get used to the medium tyres, and also trying to compete with those on the softs around us. And currently you can see everyone moving across the straight, trying to follow the slipstream of everybody here, as actually I think that was Rick trying to send one down the inside there momentarily, as Railgun runs very wide there at Stowe. And now look at that, into the chicane. Railgun right down the inside of THM. We switch back underneath and get a very nice overtake down the Breno. Just a very cheeky overtake down the inside. We run a bit wider at the final corner as I pick up some understeer from the cars in front. Railgun trying to go back down the inside, but settles in behind as we go flat out through turn 1. We almost hit the back of THM. I have to get out of the throttle, and we're going to send one down the inside on the brakes. But Railgun, and also I think that's Rick on the outside as well, make it briefly 3 wide. And Railgun tries to squeeze me onto the apex area turn 4, but I'm having absolutely none of it. And we go side by side, and eventually I managed to stay in front of both him and Rick onto the Wellington straight. But a very scary moment there as Railgun sent one back down the inside, but now behind THM once again here in the Ferrari on lap number 2. We see if we try and find some stability on track and have a bit of a calm period, you know, just relax a little bit and see if we can try and establish ourselves on these mediums. We started from P8, we're down to P13, so we still need to make up 5 places in what has been a horrific start to the race. And THM, you just saw there briefly running a while onto the gravel there out of the right-hander of Luffield. And now flat out through Copse here, pretty much just a downshift, just to make sure we play it nice and safe. And now we're going to go flat into Maggots and Beckett's, and then we're going to take a couple of lifts now towards Chapel. And I pick up my first track extension of the race there, going through the left-hander. And so far, not too bad. You know, we've only got 1. If we can try and keep it to a minimum in this race, that'd be fantastic, because penalties have been a bane in my side, you know, a thorn in my side in past races. And you know, the penalties let me down in Austria. Otherwise we should have had a podium. So I'm going to try and avoid the penalties today if I can, to have the best chances possible of again a good result here today. Meanwhile, they're back to the action here as we come towards the end of lap 2 onto lap 3. Purple laps going in here as people set the benchmarks, and also DRS is now enabled here as we set a personal best of our own. And we're still behind THM here, and he's also on the mediums. We've got Railgun behind. Through turn 1, THM runs wide. We get loose mid-corner onto the grass. We have to take evasive action. We come back to the racetrack very carefully, but then there's contact between myself and Railgun, and we go around for a spin. And unfortunately, we're going to drop all the way down to the back of the pack here, and last place once again. And misfortune goes from bad to worse. After a bad start, we drop all the way down to last. And really frustrating, because I know I don't have much pace here. I could tell early on, you know, even on the mediums, I was trying to keep up with THM. I could tell I didn't have much pace. However, we've got yellow flag here, and Rick's actually disconnected, I think, in the meantime. And also Koldo, my teammate in the McLaren, has spun round as well. So both McLarens in the space of literally 4 corners have had an incident, and we've both been spun round. So very unfortunate there for the pair of us. And if you guys are not aware, so far in this season, McLaren have won every single race. You know, I won the first one, and then Koldo won the next 3. So we've got 100% flawless record so far this season, and that could be in serious jeopardy here today as we overtake Rick. A big lag spike there, and that kind of sums up how my game works. You know, whenever I got near to a car, it was really laggy for me this race, and you can see how big that lag spike was. But nonetheless, getting back up to speed then, and me and Koldo have got work to do, is pick up a second track extension of the Grand Prix at the exact same corner as last time there. But back on topic, like I say, me and Koldo have got work to do here, and we need to try and make our way back through the pack. We're both on the mediums. Remember, he started in P3 and he was on the mediums. But similar to me, I watched the race live stream back, and Koldo got swallowed up by the people around him, also on the soft tyres. So we had a very similar start to the race, and eventually both had contact on the same lap as well. So very unfortunate for the pair of us. And in terms of the incident with Railgun, if you guys want to let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Personally, I thought I wasn't really to blame. I wasn't going to cut the track because I was too scared of taking a penalty, to be honest, because this game's very funny with cutting across the grass. So I didn't want to take the risk, and I think I was fair. But nonetheless, back into the action. Brownie in the other Red Bull there into the pit lane, and I think he's going to retire and call it a day. I think he has some trouble with tyre temperatures and tyre wear, and I think he's had to call it a day there. So he retires, and both Red Bulls DNF in this race. So they're at the bottom of the pack, and that actually gets us off the bottom, theoretically speaking, as you know, we're getting a few places here, as you can see, and we're trying to make some form of progress, setting them personal best after personal best after personal best, but we're still only P13. And also, you know, in this stint, Koldo, I was using him as a reference, and he was gradually pulling away. You can see how far away he is now in the minimap compared to where he was when he spun round, and I just didn't have the pace. I really didn't. It kind of hit me in the race that the qualifying was my best chance to get something out of this race, and I blew it because in the race the pace wasn't there. The FPS and the lag spikes were a lot less than qualifying, but they were still there, as you saw with Rick a moment ago. And you can see on lap 12 here, we're still setting personal best as we jump up to 8th place. Cars in the pit lane once again here, and I'm still pushing on. The car still feels okay considering the spin, and the tyres are holding on okay as well, which is good. And it's all about consistency. We've got more cars in the pit lane here, as you can see on this lap, including my teammate Koldo. So I had to stay out for one more lap because obviously we don't want to stack in the pit lane. So I'll stay out for one more. So we're currently P5, and that won't last for much longer as we cut on towards the end of lap 16. and we're going to come in for a pit stop for the soft compound tyres. And first of all, we've got to tackle the pit entry. Silverstone notorious having a very tricky pit entry, which is 60 kilometers an hour, not 80, and it's very, very slow, so it catches you out completely. But luckily, we don't speed, we play it nice and safe and don't take many risks. You can see my tyres there briefly, pretty worn out on the left side, and we're going to come in for the soft compound tyres. We've got Crysis there in the pit lane as well in the Mercedes, and so far, the stint has been as good as it can be. We don't really have the pace, and I'm kind of hoping on a miracle really that we need a few more DNFs and a couple of crashes to make something happen. As you can see there, I'm constantly spamming R1 or the right trigger paddle to try and get away from the pit box there. And you can see currently we're down to P12, and that's going to be P13 very soon as Koldo makes his way past, and we're back down to where we were before the pit stops. And Lemon, actually, he's behind in the Renault, so I believe he has some kind of incident or something. I'm not really sure what happened to him, but he lost a lot of time, and he's dropped back behind us now. So we're P13 in this race on merit on the soft compound tyres, but we've got a lot of work to do here, and everybody in front of us is on the fresh soft tyres, so it's going to be hard to beat them. Railgun there setting the pace, then we've got Error behind him, and then we set a personal best of our own, but even that's not fastest, we're not really, we can't even match Railgun's pace. Railgun, I believe, was just outside the top 10 in qualifying, so it's not looking too good for us. You can see another personal best here, and similar to the first stint really, it was just about me being by myself. I was very lonely, and I just kept on pumping in the fastest laps of, that I could possibly do for myself and my own car. But then, as you can see here on lap 23, this is when the race came alive. There was a huge battle for the 10 of the points, and you can see we've got Rick here. We're going to try and lap once again here in the Red Bull, but try and put Rick to one side, and there's a battle in front here for the points. And finally, as we have another screen freeze there, finally we are going to have something to fight for in this race. I stayed patient, I kept on pushing, and now we're going to get a chance to get something out of this race. And as you can see here, we've got my teammate Kohler battling it out with Workman in the Sauber there for P11. Let's try and get in on this battle if we can. Currently, Koldo working hard to get past the Sauber, and he's going to go down the inside here into Brooklands. Does he pull it off? Side by side with the Sauber, and there's still side by side, a little bit of contact there, and that's going to give me the chance to just try and have a look down the inside, but lag once again plays a part, and we drop back, which is very unfortunate. So far, I haven't got a penalty, and I know people in front of me do have penalties, so I want to try and get as close as possible to that lead Ferrari. And the minimap you can see, because from that Ferrari downwards, there could be penalties to any of those guys on the minimap, so I want to really close that 3-second gap if possible. And the best way to do that is to not lose time battling with these people and also lag, costing me time. So we need to try and get these moves done and not waste time. And you can see once again onto the back straight here, you better pull up. We've lost a lot of time, as you can see by the Delta in the top. Brian Koldo again is going to try and go for a move on Workman, and look at that, a big dive. Nothing comes from it though. Workman keeps it around the outside though, and we're going to watch this battle again from the distance. If you now go into the chicane, Koldo back down the inside one more time, and we're going to try and set up the switch back here. As you can see, getting the traction down, Koldo and Workman still battling out. There's contact again, and we're going to go down the inside, and we're going to take Koldo. Well, I think Koldo actually retired there. Yeah, Koldo's off. He's retired from the Grand Prix. My teammate is out as we make the move on Workman there, but I thought I was a little bit aggressive. Shades of Austria in the last race when I pushed Smeege off the track, so I let Workman back through. In hindsight, I'm not sure what I should have done, but I was trying to be, the gentleman here, and I learnt my lesson from Smeege in the last race in Austria, where I got reported to the stewards for aggressive driving. So I let Workman pass, and I'm going to do the re-overtake now on the Wellington straight, and we get past the Sauber there for P11, and we're now on the cusp of points, and there's a 4-car scrap in front of us here. And right now, to be honest with you, we haven't got a penalty, so if we just sit here and let the battle occur, we should be good to get 7th place in this race. There's Railgun there, lots of lag again the next time we approach the car. Railgun going off onto the gravel, getting pushed off, and we take the overtake, and we jump up into the P10 now. The 3 cars in front of us, I believe they all have penalties, some way, shape or form, and as long as we just hold where we are, we can bring home a P7 out of absolutely nothing this race. But we've got to see how it goes. With pretty much 1 lap to go, there's a lot that can potentially happen here, and there's lots of cars in this mix. And as you can see, Railgun getting a tow from behind. I'm trying to get a tow from Error in front of me in the Toro Rosso, who's currently going side by side here, as you can see, into Stowe with THM, and he's going to get the move done. THM struggling on the Ferrari on those soft tyres. We're going to get the run on him here. I went for the outside, but he kind of just swapped across me there, so I backed out, let him have the position, and Serdar is the one at the front of this train in the Mercedes. And now here we go on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, and we are right behind THM in the Ferrari for P9. Meanwhile, Error is really coming alive here at the end of the race and trying to have a go at the Mercedes. Meanwhile, we get a great run on THM through turn 1. We're going to carry it through 2 and down into towards turn 3, but THM holding it around the outside beautifully. And then out of nowhere, Railgun with the dive into turn 4, and this is what I feared, unfortunately, these constant kind of last lap desperate dive bombs, which is going to ruin my race potentially with the penalties. And you can see now we've got a run on THM once again, but then lag comes into fruition once again, and Railgun gets past me without doing absolutely nothing, and this really annoyed me. We go down the inside of Railgun there, very rash from me to be fair, on a last lap dive of my own, but I was kind of frustrated at the time that, you know, it was slipping away from me. It really was. You can see the gap to Serdar in error. The 3 seconds that we have, you know, in benefit of time penalties is slipping away. And I want to try and close the gap here to go through Cops, and got Workman behind in the Sauer. And I'm trying to get a toe on Railgun, but it does seem like Serdar and error. And now gone there. Railgun runs wide, but in the process we pick up a corner cut and we get an illegal overtake and a 3-second time penalty. And that is so annoying, because we try to cash in and we got the exact same corner cut at the exact same 2 places from the last 2 warnings. Martin G wins momentarily across the line, but you can see the real battle here is now really brewing. We've lost the gap to Serdar and error as we go into the final chicane. Railgun's got past and THM has stayed in front of us. We're going to try and have a last, you know, desperate attempt to cross the line, but it's no use, and we finished P10, and it's very unfortunate because P7 was right there in front of us and it just didn't work out. The lag cost us so badly, and my run-ins with Railgun in that race really also affected me quite badly, you know, so we recovered from my issue, but it's such a shame because for a race when I did not have the pace at all, that was an incredible performance. But nonetheless, we're going to look at the final race results here. And as you can see, Smeej finally picks up his first race win of the season in the Ferrari. He capitalised and benefited from the penalties that Marion and Martin G had, and he takes first place. And also Julian in the full senior takes second place, a fair play to him. He also benefits from the lack of not having penalties and cashes in on Marion and Martin G's penalties and pain there. Then also further down we've got Crysis P5 behind Martin G and Marion, and then Zerd P6 also have penalties to his name. I believe he was in the fight for the win as well, and he dropped down quite a bit there with some penalties. And then also we've got THM P7. He didn't have a time penalty, but to be fair, you saw how much I was pressuring him at the end, and if we'd had a fair crack at it and Railgun hadn't obviously dived a couple of times, we might have had a chance of actually snatching that position, and that's where we should have finished that race in my opinion, without a doubt. And even if it wasn't P7, we should have definitely finished in 8th place. Somehow Serdar and Error had just enough of a gap to the point where if I'd finished just 0.4 of a second earlier on in the race, 0.4, I would have had P8, but because those 0.4 I finished behind Sarah and Error and Serdar, together at the same time. So in the end we only scored 1 point, and it's kind of bittersweet because it's good in a way that we got a top 10, because even though I qualified 8th after that horrible first lap and then the incident down to last place, I was by myself the entire race, and to get something out of the race was good, but it could have been so much more, and that was disappointing in a way. But then nonetheless, further down we got Railgun P11, and then we got Workman, Lemon, who had some issues in the race, and then finally we got Rick, and of course I believe Brownie as well in the other Red Bull. But in terms of what that race means for the Drivers' Championship, as you can see, Coldo still leads the way, and Coldo with his first retirement of the season that race, and officially the McLaren streak of winning races comes to an end courtesy of Smeej. So Smeej now P2 in the championship, only 7 points behind my teammate, and putting the pressure on. Then we've got Julian P4, he's had a couple of good races there lately, and he's now 24 points off the top, but in 3rd place and in the bronze medal position, you could say. Then we've got THM P4, and then I'm P5. So even though I've had a couple of bad races and I've only scored, you know, points realistically in my first and also my 4th race, I'm only scoring 1 today and missing a race and getting to P11. It wasn't too bad, you know. Even Bahrain we got P11, but if luck was on my side on another day, that Bahrain race would have been P3 for us on the podium due to penalties and whatnot. So it's amazing how fine the margins are, because we could have had, you know, 3rd place in Bahrain and P7 today, and that would have put me up in like 3rd place. But it's just the way it swings and goes sometimes, and you just need luck to fall on your side. But hopefully in the next race in Germany I can come back stronger. Meanwhile, we've got Martin G, Zerd, Marion, Crysis and Lemon rounding off the top 10, and pretty much from Crysis to myself, you know, and I want to include Lemon there because Lemon's a very fast driver. Lemon all the way to myself, a 10-point gap covering 6 drivers. Is going to be very close, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that one pans out over the coming races. And I want to try and win another race. My target was to win 2 races this season, and Germany was a good race for me last year, even though I qualified last and I didn't do that good in the race. I had so much pace, I should have had to qualify, but Germany, I had so many FPS issues around then. I'm kind of worried about that already again, to be honest with you. But We'll see how it goes, and fingers crossed we can try and turn it around and try and win that race. With that being said though, guys, that is going to wrap things up here for this video and this race of the Apex Online Racing League in the PC F2 split for the British Grand Prix. If you guys did enjoy it, please do drop a like on the video. Also get subscribed if you are new for daily Formula 1 and MotoGP content, and also turn on notifications to not miss a video from me. And finally, check out these 2 videos on your screen if you have missed them. Other than that, guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video very soon, but until then, it's goodbye from me.